Hi, Elizabeth. Great to have you here.
Hi,
So,
Laura.
I love what you do, and I wanted to share it with our group because divorce is such a big thing in your life. And how do you get back on your feet after that? Like, there's so many areas that goes with you, like your identity, uh, the money stuff. Maybe your husband, was the breadwinner. Um, who you are, all your friends were associated with both of you. So tell us a little bit, Liz, about what you do, who you are, and a little bit of your story would be fabulous.
Sure. So I'm Elizabeth or Liz. I'm a women's empowerment coach and a breathwork facilitator. In 2019, my life took a dive and I separated and divorced my husband. I'd never expected to be a divorced person, which is a huge part of my story. Um, And through my healing journey and my processing and being with myself, which I had never done, I realized that I had so many growth spots and so many things I needed to work on in myself. And um, now doing that work. And also in that season, I had women reach out to me who were also in marriages that were struggling, and they secretly reached out. Hi, don't tell anybody that I'm like calling you. Uh, but I'm really struggling too, and I don't know what to do. And I think maybe I need to be divorced. But like, how did you do that? How did you just get up and leave? And in that time, I thought, oh my gosh, other women are struggling in their marriages and they're not telling anyone. And, I always say, I'm not pro divorce. I'm pro like self love. I'm pro communicate your needs and show up for yourself, because if you don't show up for you first, you can't expect your partner or anybody in your life to show up for you. And so in that space, I thought, oh my God, there are so many women who need these tools that I've been gathering, who need to know that they can show up for themselves. And so I dove into a coaching program and decided to like get trained and learn more and then support these women who feel hidden, stuck, numb, ashamed, disappointed, like all of these negative feelings that we take on as women. Okay, I can't speak for the men, but we take on all these shameful, negative emotions because we feel like we're failures when we're not. And I really wanted to empower women
I
to
think that's
know.
really big what you said. I remember feeling like that. I haven't gone through a divorce, but I prematurely went through one because that was my biggest fear. But that's the whole story that we might tell. We'll see how we go
Uh-huh.
in time. Um, but I remember that what's wrong with me, and uh, all that kind of, the I'm a failure at love, like you know yeah, yeah.
It is pervasive, and I see it with my clients. I see it with women that I connect with in groups. I see it in women who are not divorced, who are like, I'm a failure. There's so much shame. What's wrong with me? Why can't I figure it out? Why, I'm not worthy, and that's why I get treated like this. And there's so much in that this pot of just all these negative things. And it really keeps us stuck. It keeps us in these places that are not healthy, and then we feel disempowered. And I know that so my clients right now are primarily divorced women, and I work with them to bring them out of this pit. And we kind of lock arms and we do this thing together. And because I am my target market, I am the women that I work with, I really
So
see them.
tell me this, Liz. By the way, if you're enjoying this, give it a heart and a likes, because that allows more people to see it and they can get the benefit. Because all of us have been through. I think most people, maybe you're not going through a divorce as such, but you're going through a life crisis, and this is what hits you. So tell me, how does somebody turn it around? So I know a big part of what I do is, um, and you don't have to be divorced to be in this space, but women today are even, like you get married, the husband's the breadwinner, you have kids, now you're on a part-time job, and if he left you in the morning, would you be able to keep the roof over your head? And this is kind of a very scary place that we find ourselves in. And I've
Mm-hmm.
often worked with people myself. This is how this group came about. My my dad was the guy with the money, and my mom was a housewife and didn't believe in herself, kind of what you're talking about, just didn't believe in herself, didn't think she knew what to do with money, and very much was crippled by it. And
Yeah.
I work with people today, and they're like, well, I've never brought in my own money, how do I go about that? And I've never managed my own money, and I'm now at home with three kids, you know, trying to bring in the money and balance that. And like myself right now, by the way, I'm here with Liz with my kid at home sick and working, right? And this is the kind of places we find ourselves in. So, Liz, what do you say when somebody, uh, when you go through something like this? I went through a very dark place, right? When you come out of that eventually,
Right.
right? What needs to happen, or how do we get back on our feet?
Yeah. So thank you for saying that. First, you have to get out of the dark place. Okay. Because if you're swirling around in shame and disappointment and worthlessness, you're not going to be able to take any steps because you don't feel like you can do that. So get help, find a therapist, get your community, get a coach, get out of that space. You're not alone. Many, 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 many women feel like how you feel right now, and you don't have to stay stuck there. So after
I
you
think
do
that's
that,
powerful as well. Is what I learned is I was not alone.
yes, you are absolutely not alone. We tell ourselves this lie as humans that I'm the only one who feels what I feel. And that is 100% a lie every single time. You are absolutely not the only person who feels what you feel. There are other people in the world who feel like that. Your neighbor might feel like that. Your bestie might feel like that, and you don't know. So after you get out of that place and you start to feel that empowerment in your body, you need to take a step, one step. It doesn't you're not going to go and get a six-figure job immediately. You just need to take a step. And because we're each launching, so my company is Launch Your Life, we're each launching from our own launching pads. The steps going to be different for everyone. But what I learned growing up, and something that really supported me in this transition, this unexpected switch, was I needed to have my own career, my own income. Whatever that income was, it just needed to be something that I did that was about me, because I was an individual in a marriage. I wasn't like melded into this person. We're still two individuals who share life.
Yeah.
So if you've never had a job, just go get one. It doesn't have to be this
And
amazing job.
it can be scary to do that,
Oh yeah. Oh, it's all
especially when you've
scary.
been at home so long with the
Yes.
kids and all of it.
Yes.
But I love it's like just taking that one little step. That's the new empowered you.
Yes, and it doesn't have to be your favorite job or the best job in the world or one that you're in for years and years and years. It's just creating evidence in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Yeah.
step out and do a hard thing, and I can work at this job for 3 months or 6 months,
Yeah.
and that empowered action will lead me to my next empowered action, which might be a better job, a different job, a promotion in the job. And then the next thing that I really encourage women to do is pay attention to your money. What is your money doing? If you're married and your husband is in charge of the finances, it's time to get in there. Like, see what your money is doing. How does your money move? Where is you invested? What are the expenses? When you don't know what your money's doing, it's really hard to come out of hard situations and take control of your finances. And
So Liz, can
so
I
many,
ask you this
yes.
story?
Yeah.
So in your situation, what was the money dynamic?
So what I'm learning in this work is that my situation is actually very unique. So in my marriage, I was the breadwinner and I was the money manager.
Yeah.
I was the one who knew what was coming in and out, and I was the one who primarily brought the majority of income in. There was a transition at one point in the marriage where he became the breadwinner, but not by much. And so when I separated and divorced, I knew I needed to be better about my money, because I'm like supporting myself 100%. Oh my gosh, what does that mean? But I was in a financial place where I could do that and not feel like rent or food. So I didn't have that experience. But it was still scary, and I still had to learn. My financial intelligence was very low. We did not
But
have a
that's a
lot of
good point to bring
savings.
up as well. Just because somebody earns the money doesn't mean they know what to do with it.
Oh
So
no.
there's been a lot of that as well that people don't realize, that just because somebody is bringing in the money doesn't mean they know how to manage it, do the right things with it. Is it in the right investments and all the things you were talking about? Yeah.
Yes, I managed the money and all our bills got paid, and I do that now. But I didn't know how to make the most of my income. I often felt strapped. When I look back on it now, I'm like, we were not strapped. But I
Yeah.
always felt like I was inundated and not going to make it through, even though it's ridiculous to feel that. And it was simply because I didn't know how to work with money. I just knew I had to pay my bills on time. We didn't have any investments. Our savings was minimal. So, yes, financially speaking, I wasn't starving or homeless, and I didn't feel that, but I didn't know how to make the most of my money. And now I'm a single mom, and I'm like, I need to figure out how to make my money work for me. So there was a lot of growing, and that unfortunate separation created a space where I had to learn how to do this. Now, it's important, I think, and maybe you can speak to this. I have clients now that I work with that feel shame because they don't have financial intelligence. They're in their 30s and 40s, and they say, I just am so embarrassed that I don't know how to manage my own money. And I have to call them out and say, no, nobody learns how to do this. They don't
Yeah, and that's
teach
what
you
that's what I always say. Nobody learns. It's not taught in school.
this. No.
And more people than you think are in that situation. And even though the tables are turning and a lot of women are going to be the breadwinners, this is very generational and very ingrained, and it's not your fault. It was history for so long,
Yeah.
and we're changing this, and you're
Yeah.
a part of that. And I would always tell somebody to, okay, let's work on how you think and feel about money, and let's change this for you, because that's coming from a space. You got to work from the inside out, and everything's learnable. I wouldn't
Oh
be
my
here
gosh.
sitting in
Yes.
front of you today. I am the example of somebody who is very dependent on others for money. That was my role model. If I can do it, anyone, I'm telling you now, anyone can do it if I can do it.
Well, I mean, that's the truth. That's the same story as like, I'm the only one who feels what I feel. No, you're not. You're never going to be. And everything is learnable if you're present and teachable to those things. And so,
I love that. Teachable to those things. Yeah, yeah.
yes, you have to be open. And so, shame keeps us closed. I'm
Yeah.
so ashamed
And
that I
that's where
don't,
the real work is,
yes,
in the
it's in the
beginning.
shame.
The real work is in the shifting those feelings that are,
Yes.
they're usually conditioned, they're taught patterns from the old you, the old married Liz, or the old,
Mm-hmm.
you don't operate that way, or you're changing it, and you know be okay with that space, and you're coming out the other end. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, so with the women I work with and in the programming that I offer, so we don't do a ton of the things that you do as a money coach, but we definitely work on those feelings and and you said this, the mindset and feelings around what you know and what you don't know. And just because you didn't know it doesn't mean you are incapable, that you are, dumb or messed up somehow. You didn't. It's just how life happened, and you get to do better now. You get to grow and learn and change your mindset around these things. And it's fascinating because, and I'm sure you see this in your work, as soon as you shift how you think about money and you allow your feelings to shift around that, you recognize that you have more power and more access to what you need in terms of your finances. You really can shift that simply by shifting how you think about them. And it's fascinating to watch that in my clients. Like, they come in feeling disempowered and ashamed, and then they leave like, I can do this, and I'm making more money than I ever made before because of how I think, not because I suddenly have a money tree. So yes, this was a huge part of getting grounded after divorce.
One sec, kitty's shouting. Keep going.
No worries. So just for you guys watching, like, financial intelligence, and Lorna's a money coach, so she's going to be really great at supporting this. But one of the things that I do with my clients is I really create a foundation in mindset and building clarity and self-forgiveness around feelings that are unfounded, that we kind of tell ourselves these stories. So what I'm saying, Lorna, is that part of what I do to get people ready to come hang out with people like you is working through the mindset in all the areas that come with divorce, but creating a space of self-forgiveness and acknowledging that it's okay that you didn't know that, and now you know that. And so now we can grow and we can shift and we can change. Self-forgiveness is a massive part of getting through a divorce or any significant transition, because it's very easy to say, I was awful, shame on me, how could I have ever done that to myself or let that happen? And we hold ourselves back and sabotage our own progress because we can't forgive the version of ourselves that didn't know what we know now. So old Liz, 20 years ago Liz didn't know the things that she knows now, and I can't be mad at her for that. I have to just forgive her and say, you didn't know, and that's okay, and we're moving on.
I think it's really important to say that one of the biggest forgiveness to do is with yourself always, because usually when we come out of something like a divorce or something that's very life, tough on us and a negative, it's usually not always the person and stuff, although there's forgiveness there, but usually it's we attack ourselves over what we put up with, and it's that is the core piece.
Yeah, it's a huge part. It's something that I had no knowledge of. I didn't know that that was a thing until I was getting divorced, and I had a spiritual moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I have to forgive myself for letting myself suffer this and not loving myself. And that's, again, we talked at the beginning, you have to do some of this inner work and forgiveness and mindset stuff before you can say, I'm working on my money and my finances, because it feels really disempowering to just dive into something that seems really scary without doing the work first. So yeah, self-forgiveness had to happen before I could serve anybody in this work. I had to work on that I can't help, you can only take your clients as far as you've gone. And I needed to do a lot of work before I could come in and stand alongside women who are ready for something more. For sure.
Love that. So Liz, this has been amazing. So tell us a little bit, what's that kind of one thing you want to leave the listeners with? And secondly, how can we find out more about you? How can I get in contact with you?
Great. So 2 things, Lorna. Number one is
things.
they'll be fast. And I already said this, but the first thing, and this is really important, is you are not alone. You are not the only person with the feelings that you have. You have a unique experience, but the emotions and the struggles and the disempowerment, that's universal. We all have these experiences. And then the second thing is, you're never stuck. You are never, ever stuck where you are. You always have choices, and you always have the power to choose differently. We don't always love the choices that we have. Sometimes they're really uncomfortable. That doesn't mean there are not choices available. And so recognizing that will allow you to move the needle and get to a good place. So those are 2 really important things. And then as far as finding me, I would love to connect with you. There are two ways you can find me. I'm on Facebook. My name on Facebook is Elizabeth Soto-Baez. It's the name that is in the title of this post. You can come and friend me. I would love to connect with you. Send me a DM, say hi. I'm also on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is at launch.your.life.coaching. And I post on both of those platforms regularly. I have a couple of events coming up at the beginning of May that I would love to share with you. So if you're interested in connecting, come find me at Elizabeth Soto-Baez on Facebook or at Launch Your Life Coaching on Instagram. And it would be a pleasure to chat.
And Liz, you post them below the comments here, below this video.
Yes.
And if you have any questions on the back of this for Liz or myself, absolutely post it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're watching, #replay and let us know who's here and what was your takeaways. So thank you, Liz, for being here. Thank you for your time. I know it's very early in the morning for you.
It's okay.
And yeah, you
Yeah.
can get back on your feet after divorce.
100% possible. Thank you so much for having me, Lorna. I appreciate you.
Very well. Thank you.